I'm your host today, Dr. Mona Sodhi, and today I am so excited to bring to you all Dr. Rashmi. Dr. Rashmi and I have known each other for over a year now, but I'm really excited to talk to her today to learn more about the business that she has built and how she got there. We oftentimes see the other side of the business when it's, rainbows and sunshine, but sometimes there is a story, and oftentimes 100% of the time I should say there is a story behind the sunshine and the rainbows. And sometimes it was an easy path and sometimes not so easy. So we're going to break it down today with Dr. Rashmi to see her path to entrepreneurship. Dr. Rashmi is a board certified family physician, a certified coach, a meditation teacher, and a retreat host. She's also a certified yoga therapy and laughter yoga teacher, in addition to hosting her podcast, which is called Inner Peace and Power. She helps high achieving women tap into their own inner peace and power so they can confidently live more energetic and fulfilling lives. Welcome, Dr. Rashmi.
Dr. Mona, it's such an honor to be here with you. Thank you.
I'm so excited to get into this because we know each other and we've chatted before, but I haven't really taken a deep dive into kind of what got you here and all that. So I would love to know, in your own words, kind of what it's been like on your journey to entrepreneurship, and take me back to kind of residency, family practice residency. What did you think you were going to do when you started, and what did you do?
Yeah, so I went to medical school. I was born in India and into a very large extended family where yoga, Ayurveda, even mysticism, that sort of thing it was just the water that I was swimming in. Didn't know that that's what was happening. Immigrated to the US in middle school, and then I went to medical school at the University of Virginia in Charlottesville. And from there, I saw this picture of family medicine as being like the most proactive way that I could help people. And I saw examples of these very long longitudinal relationships. And I was like, I want that. And so that was a decision that had me going into family medicine. And so I graduated from medical school in the year 2000. And so, I mean, we were talking quite a long time ago, and medicine was so different then. I mean, I know people always say that, but it felt so different. It felt like this wide open expanse of go and live your best life. And in fact, that's sort of what residency felt like. And even after residency, I was able to, so I'm in Northeast Florida. I was able to practice in a way that initially did not feel aligned to who and what I was, but was able to negotiate enough to want to spend a little bit more time with my patients. And over time, as stress does catch up with us, I had two young kids. I had a full-time job that was, it's never a full-time job. It was more than, 60 hours a week. My husband was working a lot, and there were just a lot of stress related things that were happening within my mind body system that I was either unwilling or unable to sort of address until they got into physical things. So when I started having physical illness is when I said, oh, maybe I should do something about this. That was what was acceptable to me at that time. So like 16, 17 years ago, I started to look into what felt like home, which was a lot of these Ayurvedic principles and meditation, mindfulness, those kinds of things to help myself. Not necessarily, I was not thinking about my career. And what ended up happening was, I think my first teacher training was, I was flying back and forth to California. There was no like social media. There were no like online courses for me to take. No. And so I was doing this thing where I was really committed, and it opened the door to so much more for me. And I was able to practice in an integrative way before I knew what integrative medicine really was. And so for a decade or more, I was in this very niche kind of practice where I chose, it was really incredible. It was sort of more of like it was hospital based, but it was run like a co-op in where each of us physicians, especially in family medicine, could kind of say, this is the sort of practice that I want, and this is what I don't want. And so many times, of course, there was like a lot of data driven stuff. And so I enjoyed this long period of time where I was able to do more training, kind of bring it back in and practice in a way that felt really aligned. And then comes 2016 and 17, and there were, a huge shift in the management system where I was working. And that's when, that's when I understood myself to be a square peg in a round hole. And I
Right.
really tried hard to squeeze in every place. And I was in leadership at that point, in physician leadership, and really tried my very best for about 3 years to make some changes that I thought were more pro physician. It was met with a great deal of, uh, violence is not the problem. That's not the right word. Let's say non-agreement. How about that? And there was just a dead end there. I could
Yeah, I
see the
hear
dead
you.
end, and it became so clear to me. And so at the end of 2019, I had actually resigned after a huge amount of contemplation. It was like one of the hardest things I've ever done because
From
I'd
the
been
same
there.
institution that you were at in
Yes.
residency.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
And to be clear, I had started that practice with my husband, and he
Wow.
was still there,
Wow.
and are two very good friends. And so it was really a very difficult decision. And around that time, I had found coaching as well. And so I had also been applying to, coaching certifications, all of these things sort of in this way that I was going to start this direct care practice.
Sure.
And this direct care practice was set to open in the spring of 2020. And
Oh, wow.
and so that's when COVID hit.
Yep.
And instead of doing in person, my timing was such a divine intervention, was that I was able to just move it completely online. I didn't sign the lease I was going to sign. And so that really helped me stay really lean. And so I was doing a telemedicine sort of gig part-time. And then I
Sure.
started this online, very integrative way of direct care.
Yep.
And I knew nothing about business. I had no training. And so it was like learning everything from scratch. And lots of mistakes were made. And where lessons were learned, and it led me into a group of physicians. I mean, that's where you and I met. I found a
Yep.
business
Yep.
coach,
Yep.
and so I spent about 8 or 9 months really just flailing, like financially flailing, mentally,
Yeah.
all of those things.
Can I interrupt you there? I want to ask, so when did you made the decision to leave and your position of 19 years?
Yes.
Did you have a plan when you made that decision to leave, or did you just say, I can't do this, I can't work in this environment anymore,
I
and
did
I'll see
not
what happens?
I did not have a plan. That's the
Okay.
crazy part. Now that I think back on it, I mean, I knew what I wanted to do,
You had some
and
idea.
I had
Like,
an idea. And
okay.
I should go back to the year 2007, 2008. I really had taken, my husband and I had taken a big risk and a chance in buying our office building, which is a pretty big building. And at that time, I had enough passive income to know that I would not be unhoused if I did not bring in income. And so I think that is an important, I mean, that was a big, scary thing that we had done that was then, like 12 years later, actually kind of like
Yeah.
giving me
Flexibility.
financial freedom.
Yep. Yep.
The
Yeah.
financial freedom that I knew that I could always get
Yep.
a job. I could always,
Yep.
like I stayed very, very lean. I didn't
Yep.
have like $8,000 in rent to pay every month. I
Right.
didn't, and so I had a very lean staff. I was doing everything myself. And so I was able to kind of bootstrap it. And
Yep.
that's how I was able to be okay with the uncertainty of what was around the corner, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's so interesting because you mentioned that you bought this big medical office building, and that at the time of purchase, it sounds like it was a risk, just
Oh,
like
huge
any
risk.
any investment is a risk,
Oh,
right?
Mona, yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
it was right before the crash, and
yeah,
it was like, things were maybe kind of softening, but it was right before the crash. And so
right.
like quite
You wrote
literally
it
6
out.
months after we bought this thing, it was worth nothing. It was worth
Nothing.
absolutely
Yeah.
nothing. It was like if we had to sell in the first 3 or 4 years, I would have gone bankrupt. And so like,
Right.
but I
Right.
knew that I was in it for the long haul. And so it was so scary. It was so scary during those first 3 or 4 years when we were building the practice to be like, okay, don't look at those numbers because we're not going anywhere right now. And so,
Right. So was
um,
this building, so the original job was through a hospital system, but you bought a medical office building for a different practice or for the same practice?
No, and this is what I mean by it being very cooperative. Like
Okay.
yeah, so we paid ourselves rent through this sort of this employment
Yep.
thing that we had,
Yep.
and so we were building up equity along with also just making a W-2 income as well. So there were a couple different things that were happening at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And I don't think it's talked about enough that sometimes we do take risks that have some uncertainty or the market crashes, and it's really painful. But at the same time, look at the upside that ended up happening if you're in it for the long game. So I'm not here to tell everyone listening to take a big risk. I've also invested in real estate and it's scary, and sometimes it doesn't go how you think it's going to go. But if you hadn't taken that risk, you may not have had the same cushion. So it is important to get comfortable with taking calculated risks. We're not just jumping off a cliff, we're taking a calculated, measured risk with a parachute. And it did work out for you. And I'm so glad to hear that. What I hear from a lot of physicians is they really, when they're opening these micro practices up, for example, they really don't want to have a lot of overhead. And that helps when you keep things lean, but also if you have some kind of passive income coming in, it can really, really support you, spousal support and all that. But it's not talked about enough that in order to get that benefit, the upside of it, you've got to take the initial risk. So it's always important to kind of be evaluating opportunities as they present themselves. You're not going to take every opportunity, but it is important to look at, hey, what could my life look like in 10, 20 years? I know some people that invest in real estate with the hopes of selling the property when their children go to college or get married so that they have that buffer at that time. So thank you for sharing that. It's just not often talked about. So I wanted to take a moment to kind of reflect on that. So now we have opened the telemedicine practice. We've stayed lean. Tell me what the first year was like. This is 2019, right? Or 2020.
Right. It was 2020. It was a model that was completely unsustainable because we all have these big, beautiful service oriented hearts. And so I priced it crazy low and I had a huge volume, as you can imagine, because it was priced so low.
Yeah.
And I could not, I was working like 12 hours a day and like
Oh,
not even
wow.
coming close to making like maybe like 30% of what I was making as a full-time family physician.
And this
And
was integrative medicine. That's what you,
yes,
okay. But
yes.
not full primary care.
No, no,
Okay.
no. Although I did bend over back. I was sort of the people pleaser. Was really
Yes.
active during those years. It was like leading the way, if you will. And so there was a lot of people pleasing. There was a lot of like the stuff that we know really well how to do, like throwing ourselves under the bus, like all these things of like self-sacrifice, like service, and of course those parts need to be honored, but they can't always be in the driver's seat. We'll burn out. We'll never
Sure.
get to where we want to get to create impact. And so I joined. Dr. Una's program at the end of 2020. I always joke that that's the best decision I made in that year. And that's when I started to understand, okay, well, I have a very high-end product that I'm selling for a very low price tag, and I have high volume and a low price tag. So like this is, this is not going to work long term. And so I started to switch things out. And it was around that time when I should also say in 2020, I kind of I went into telemedicine, but truly like in the depths of COVID, like March, April, May, June, I had one of my very best friends from college. She reached out to me and she said she was in Manhattan and, they were not used to like living in close quarters. Like they were all traveling all the time. And so she said, you know what, everyone in my family, they're being assholes right now. Can you send me a TED talk that I can make everyone watch? And so I sent her a recording of a yoga nidra practice in return. And she was like, what the fuck is this? And I was like, maybe they're not the problem. And so,
Right. That's so
and
funny.
so,
Called your
and then
friend
a
out.
couple of days later, she calls me and she's like, Rosh, you got this in your back pocket and you're not sharing it. What are you doing? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I didn't know it could work online. Like, I've only been doing it in person. And, like all the things that with Ayurveda, within meditation, mindfulness, I had only been doing it in person. It didn't even cross my mind that I would do it online. It just felt like an energetic exchange. But then she's like, it was just a recording and it changed how I'm looking at things already. And so,
And
what
this
ended
we're
up happening
talking was
was,
like a YouTube video, right? This is just
yeah, this
someone
was like
else.
quite literally a voice recording that was a yoga nidra practice, which is like a 30-minute practice of just, a whole host of ways in which we can expand our awareness and our perspective, if you will, in a
Sure.
very, very simple practice. You just have to
Yep.
follow
I've done
along.
it. It's very
Yoga
powerful.
nidra. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So then I started doing free yoga nidra sessions Friday mornings, Saturday mornings, Sunday
I love
mornings.
that.
Anytime I had time, I would do it for whoever wanted to show up. And after like 3 or 4 weeks of this, they were like, well, we want to pay you. And I'm like, well, no, 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 that feels dirty. That feels gross. Like that doesn't feel right. All the money stories in our head. And then they just started Venmoing me. And that's when I was like,
Wow.
oh, well, this is so interesting. And then I started incorporating meditation teaching into my coaching. And then at some point, the coaching took off over the course of 2020 to 21, way faster than anything medical was taking off. And so I had a choice
Okay.
to make. The medical stuff became very quickly my, 80% that gives me 20% of my results, whereas like the coaching was like 20% and I'm getting 80% result
Yep.
back. I was really in that zone of genius, if you will. And so around 2022, 23, I really hyper focused on my coaching practice and let the medical part go, and started to understand that regardless of what I call myself, like there's so many different names, and I don't even know that coach is the right word, maybe catalyst, I don't know, but you're not telling anyone what to do, but there's this sacredness of honoring and the space in which when someone is evolving. And from that space of just allowing it to be as it was and allowing it to grow in a way that I hadn't necessarily imagined or could have predicted.
Wow. So you started the practice in about 2020, and then did you also start the coaching at the same time, or did
I
that
did,
start
I
later?
did,
And
I
that was
did. And
life
oddly,
coaching, or what would you call? Oh, that was the being a like a yoga or spiritual guide. What would?
yes, yes. Let me just tell you the nitty gritty of it. For $79 a month, you could have 2 hours with me of coaching and teaching. And guess what? My calendar was always
So
booked.
that's less than $40 an hour.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yes, that is what
Okay.
I priced
That's
myself
what
at.
we're
Yeah.
working with. Okay.
Yeah, that's what we're working with, just so you know.
Okay.
And it was booked, and everyone just
Of
wanted the
course.
meditation stuff. They wanted the coaching stuff. They were like, whatever, I don't care about the med stuff. And that's how that whole thing started. And just, like after getting coached one day, I just 10x'd my prices. Like overnight, I 10x'd my prices. And it still continued to grow. Like I was in complete shock over the whole thing.
Wow. That is incredible. And so when you think about you had the integrative medicine practice and the let's call it coaching under under one roof,
Yeah, you're not
telemedicine roof,
supposed to do
let's just
anything like that. So whoever's
yeah,
listening, don't do it. Just don't do
don't
it.
do it. But were you marketing to the same pool of people? And they were
I
opting into
I
both?
so this is the interesting thing. I would say I've done more marketing as a coach than I did back in those days. That I had such a huge pool of my own patients that followed me, right? Because I mean, I had a panel of three
From the
thousand.
original practice.
Oh yeah, like three
Okay.
to 4,000 patients.
Wow. Yep.
Who, I mean, it was a full panel, and so there was no problem getting that thing filled.
Yeah, the integrative medicine part.
That's right.
Okay. That is so interesting. And then you found that the coaching took off and then you let go of the medical practice. Now,
Yes.
I can't imagine that was a light decision to make.
No, no. And, even now, I mean, I have all of my licenses. I'm still board certified. I have my DEA, all that stuff, not because I don't, I mean, I loved practicing medicine. I still love the practice of medicine. And at some point, there's like, the zone of competence versus the zone of genius. And I think this is just my zone of genius, if you will.
Yeah, I love that. That is so good because you are good at many things. And it is a matter of focusing on the thing that is your zone of genius that fulfills both you and the student or patient or client, whatever you call them. That is so important because I know a lot of people, myself included, that have struggled with multiple identities and figuring out what to lean into. And it's okay to let something go and have the door open that maybe in the future the medical practice comes back in some other shape. And that's fine. There's no fixed rule. You get to decide. So once you let go of the medical practice, did you feel an immediate, or not immediate, but soon after, did you feel like your capacity open to be able to take on more coaching and really focus on that side of your business?
It really did, Dr. Mona. So I would say I took probably a year too long to let it go. Just like I took a year too long to actually leave my practice. It was a lot of clinging. It was a lot of worrying. It was a lot of like what
Sure.
ifs. It was a lot of, like I don't want this uncertainty or that uncertainty. But once it was done, it was so expansive, like
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
discussing.
Yeah.
It was not without me, like, like as a sort of paddling at the fastest rate that I can go, and all the things, and like, can I really do both, and questioning myself, and asking everyone else that I knew, and knowing that I was the only one with the
External
answer.
validation, right?
Absolutely, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That is fascinating. And so you let go of the practice, you went all in on the coaching. So for the listeners, going all in on one thing, at least to start, is helpful. You can do a few things at once. And I've done that. I've been doing that for a long time. But when it comes to your focus and your bandwidth, doing one thing can really be helpful. And then you can expand your services down the line. But if I had to do it again, I'd probably focus on one thing at a time. So what does life look like now? As a coach and I want the listeners to hear more about the retreats that you host and all that you do now.
Yeah, so I started hosting retreats in right after the first set of COVID vaccines came out, and
Okay.
so that was 21, something like
Yep.
that, and so that's been many years ago, and I host a minimum usually of one a quarter. Sometimes it's a little bit more, sometimes it's a little bit less, and really the idea is to bring so many of the women that I coach together. I used to also do I did 4 years of group coaching every single Tuesday night. You would know where to find me. It was always with my
Yeah.
group, and it was amazing. But that was also complete in that I wanted my Tuesday nights back. I
Sure.
started doing improv, and the night that I
Oh,
wanted
fantastic.
was Tuesday nights, and so I was like, I got to make a decision, guys. And so again, there's that sort of like remembering that it's okay to let something go and trust that what's on the other side is where you are going, like trusting your direction. And so that I did that about a year ago, but a lot of the women in those groups just wanted to see each other in person. That's how the retreats originated in many ways, other than me wanting to have an in-person presence with my people. It was also they wanted to see each other as well. And so the retreats have a variety of different ways in which I move about them, but the sub theme, if you will. I mean, it's called the Inner Peace and Power Retreat, and it's always like remember who you are. And at the end of each retreat, like the idea is that they go back. Each person goes back with a more radiant, a more expanded, more grounded sensation of who and what they are, and so that they can relationally get the relationships that matter to them stronger, not more isolated, but stronger, so that they can be more deeply connected with all the people and the things that the impact that they want to create. And so a lot of it is just helping to empower these women that are already so empowered that may be running, chasing their tail without necessarily knowing it. And you just slow down and you
Yeah.
start to do some of these practices that seem like, why am I doing this? It's like a sound bath. Okay, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
You can just stay curious with it. And then there's always group coaching. Really magic comes out of them. I always say, like, I usually like crawl home after a retreat. And the grand joke is I tell my husband, I'm like, don't you dare let me do another one of these. And he's like, okay, honey.
Uh, but you're all set for Q3 of this year, right?
Yeah, I've already done 3 this
That's
year,
so
and there's one
funny.
more coming up. Yeah, yeah.
That's so funny. So right now you're doing the quarterly retreats, and then do you still offer one-on-one coaching or group coaching? What does that look like?
Yeah, my days are, I'm so lucky. They are filled with one-on-one coaching. It's what I really, really love the most. And at
Yeah.
some point, I may bring back a group coaching when I'm ready to kind of commit to it. But right now, I have
So
location freedom as
one-on-one.
well. And
Yeah.
so I'm an empty nester, I should add. So my kids are in college. And so, I mean, I've been kind of in some very interesting places doing some work for half a day and then doing the things that I really want to go explore and feel and or experience for myself as well.
That's amazing. I'm just sensing this energy that you just attract such amazing people into your community and you attract like energy, I think. I think that that's really I'm feeling that through this podcast that you just radiate this energy and what I think stands out is that you've been able to, not easily, but you've been able to leave situations that could have been comfortable.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that is huge because a lot of people are like, well, I have the golden handcuffs. I love, the paycheck, and the patients are good, great. They're fine. I enjoy helping them, but it's too much. But they just don't have that push or that movement towards something else that might be pulling them. But I'm sensing that you've developed this muscle to be able to understand that, like, I'm a magnet. Patients come to me, whether it was in your original practice or in the integrative practice, and still, I know there's more for me. There's other ways I can help the same set of people, but on my terms, and I'm still helping them. And it's so interesting because I know it takes courage to do that. So that's really, really admirable. Well, this has been so informative, and I know we're gonna have to talk offline about these yoga retreats, and I think we have before, but you're really getting me excited about them. Are they usually in Sedona, or do you do them in different places?
I've done them in different places, and you're right. The one this fall is in Sedona, and
Hmm.
so that one is. I'm just so excited about it, just because I mean, you live near Sedona, so you know
Yeah,
the beauty
yeah,
that's
it's
there, and
magical.
so it's magic. And so some of it is just showing up and being present. I want to kind of rewind a little bit and tell you that I receive what you are offering, and I want to offer for you as well, because I watch how you and Dr. Marissa are moving through Super Doc Tech. It is nothing short of courageous and incredible, and you're breaking so many molds, and I just want to tell you that I'm here for it, and I am just like, I've
Oh,
got these great big cheerleader pom-poms right here, and I can't wait to see where you guys go with it.
oh, that's very sweet. That's very, very sweet. Thank you so much. I think we just learn by fire. Like, that's in all aspects. Every time I've started something new, whether it's parenting, real estate, private practice, a tech company, I wasn't an expert at any of those things. I'm still not really, but here, we're learning. We're just always students, and we're always learning. So I love being able to interview like-minded physicians that don't pigeonhole themselves into what a doctor is supposed to be. You're one of the first people that has told me when you graduated, I think you said residency in 2000, that it was almost like a golden era, like where people were like, live your life, enjoy your, like, I graduated in 2012. It was not that. It was
No, it
like,
was
get a
shifting.
job
Yeah.
corporate. It had shifted. And Marissa graduated around the same time that you did. And I know she said she's seen it all in the last 25 years. It's wildly changed. And we don't hear anyone alluding to this golden era anymore. But we do believe that now, with technology and how connected we can be virtually, there is a new golden era of medicine, and we're seeing a lot of physicians step into it and saying yes to it and saying no to the golden handcuffs. If you like the golden handcuffs, that's one thing. But if you're not liking it, there are options. You can choose to do something different. And what I love with the work you do, Dr. Rashmi, is you help people tap into themselves, understand who they are, and not seek external validation. Because I think a lot of times we are doing that. We're like looking at our hospital system, our program director, our fellow residents, our fellow colleagues. What are they doing? And am I allowed to do that? I'm a doctor. Am I allowed to be on social media? I'm a doctor. So really tapping into who you are, I think, is really, really important. So thank you so much. Well, I have learned so much in these last 30 minutes talking with you. I could talk for another couple of hours, but I do want to be mindful of the time and wrap things up. If you had any advice, Dr. Rashmi, for the listener who's thinking about starting a business or even launching something in their private practice that might be, a new vertical like skincare, meditation, coaching, what would you say to them in terms of your advice to get started and planning and all that? Do you have any advice on getting started?
I would. So I would say to validate those sensations of fear and anxiety that come up when we are thinking about something new, and consider how you might create some internal emotional mental safety for yourself so that you can make decisions based on what's my highest potential, which no one wants to know when you're in a hospital system. They do not care. They only care about RVUs. They only have these certain metrics that actually is not you at your highest potential, and it's not even helping the patients. So that's that discord there. And also, like, honor the idea that you are in a system that actually discourages you from thinking clearly and thinking creatively. It is not some kind of moral, like failing on your part if you are scared to start something new. Like, let's validate that that is the water in which we are all swimming, and that it is incredibly brave and courageous to start something that, as you described, is the new golden era of medicine. I could not love that more. So I think just the ground basis of it being some amount of validation, some amount of self-trust and self-compassion, and that self-compassion practice is not tethered to the external validation. It is a sensation of you having your own back. And this is bringing to mind that Mark Twain quote. He said, "Good decisions are made from experience, and experience comes from making bad decisions." And so, like, every decision
So
is just
true.
that. It's just a decision. And we just figure out how to make that decision right. And in ancient, yoga and it's a lot of the teachings, there are no mistakes. There are only lessons. And learning lessons does not end. So long as we are alive, lessons do not end. And so thinking that we've arrived, or thinking that for some reason we've already made it to the next level and we're there,
No,
that's not
the
true. I
arrival
don't know anyone.
fallacy. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know anyone that's
No
in
one.
that space, right? Like, we are always growing, we are always learning. And so giving yourself permission to honor the phase that you're in now, and then just make a decision where you have your own back. What does that look like? What does it look like for you to live your highest and purest potential? I would sort of start to think on those terms.
I love that. So much, so many gold nuggets there that we can all learn from, I think. And making mistakes is part of the game. And maybe not even calling them mistakes, calling them lessons. And
Yeah.
that if you can accept that the challenge is that you will have continuous lessons, but you will grow as a person, as a business owner. It's all part of it, and it's all beautiful in its own way. So thank you so much, Dr. Rashmi. Where can our listeners find you?
Yeah, very easy. So my podcast is called the Inner Peace and Power Podcast. We're going to have Dr. Mona on soon, so pop in there. So that's on all platforms. My website is just my name, rashmischramm.com, and then I'm on all the socials with just my name. So come find me. I'd love to meet you guys.
Yes, and we will include it in the show notes. Thank you so much for being on Super Doc Stories. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.